When you can't watch, listen. Get the latest news, business, and news headlines on SiriusXM. Anytime, anywhere. Fox News Audio on SiriusXM. America is listening.
This is a Fox News alert. I'm Jackie Ibanez, live in New York. Dozens of police officers responding to an incident at a dance studio that occurred last night after a large Lunar New Year celebration in Monterey Park, California. Police have been tight-lipped about the number of casualties, but video from the scene show multiple people being loaded into ambulances. Saturday was the start of the two-day festival, which is one of the largest Lunar New Year events in Southern California. Meanwhile, order has been restored after protests turned violent last night at the Atlanta Police Foundation headquarters there. Demonstrators broke windows of both buildings and police cars. Police say explosives were even used to set fire to a police vehicle. At least 6 people have been arrested. I'm Jackie Ibanez. Now back to One Nation. For all of your headlines, log on to Fox News, powerful name in news, Fox News Channel. Have a good morning.
Why did we know we'd get to this point? Because the fans are loving what we've got. The players are loving what we got. The sponsors are loving what we got. We are a legitimate.
All right, this is a Fox News alert. I'm Jackie Ibanez, live in New York. Police say 9 people are dead following a mass shooting in Monterey Park, California. Dozens of police officers responding to an incident at a dance studio, now a mass shooting that occurred last night after a large Lunar New Year celebration in the city. It's just about 10 miles from Los Angeles. Video from the scene you see shows multiple people being loaded into the ambulances. Now we know 9 people have been confirmed dead. But in addition to those 9 deaths, we do not know how many other people were injured. Saturday was the start of the two-day festival, which is one of the largest Lunar New Year events in Southern California. We are awaiting a news conference from police in Monterey Park. Of course, stick with Fox News Channel for more on this developing story. Fox and Friends, that is, will be live at the top of this hour. Don't go anywhere.
They have a percentage of the franchise. They have ownership.
The suspect behind this mass shooting, Monterey Park, where the shooting happened, is about 30 to 45 minutes away from this scene you're looking at right now. So at some point, the suspect ended up here in Torrance. And as you can see from the posture of the officers and the scene right there, it does not appear to be very active. Those SWAT officers have their backs turned to the vehicle. We don't know about the status of anybody inside of that van right now, but Jillian, I think it's fair to say they're not perceiving any active threat at that scene right now.
So, Bill, LA County Sheriff Robert Luna said earlier this morning that last night's shooting was one of the county's most heinous cases in history. Law enforcement there is now looking into whether the suspect, who we have reported, as Christina Coleman has reported, police there believe is connected to that white vehicle, looking into whether he is also connected to a separate incident in nearby Alhambra, California. A male of the same description there entered a dance hall with a gun about 18 minutes after he opened fire. Initially inside Monterey Park. The list, Bill, right now, this hour, this moment of what we don't know is a lot longer than what we do know. We don't know where the suspect is. We don't know if he's on the scene or not. We don't know whether he is alive or dead or injured. And we don't know whether fire was exchanged on scene at this parking lot that we're looking at.
And we're hopefully going to get some of those questions cleared up within any minute now, as we're again waiting for that LA County Sheriff's Department press conference to get started. But control room, if we can pull up the photo of the suspect in this mass shooting. This is something the LA County Sheriff's Department just put out earlier this afternoon. This is the guy they are looking for. He's described as a 5'10", 150-pound Asian male. They actually have a pretty good look at his face. You can see that was from, appears to be some sort of a surveillance camera there. The gun reportedly was recovered. Going back to what we know, this happened at 10:30 p.m. last night, Monterey Park, Lunar New Year Eve. He apparently goes...
There's a risk to them. That said, Bill, I will tell you, having been a survivor of the Las Vegas shooting, I've spent the last 5+ years trying to figure out how we can prevent mass shootings. And if that guy in that white van is the killer, we're going to then have to dissect his background, right? How did he get access to multiple guns, right? What is his mental health background? Does he have a prior criminal record? Let's look into that, find out if he has, and if there's something in his record that could have been a red flag to try to have prevented this from happening.
Brian, this is Jillian. At what point do investigators start considering possible motives for the single mass shooting or potentially attempted other incident nearby in Alhambra?
Yeah, great question. So I have two views on that. My visceral reaction, knowing the Monterey Park area, knowing the Alhambra area, predominantly Asian, that I initially thought this has got to be a hate crime, racially motivated. Then I learned that the killer is of Asian descent. Then I learned that he went to another dance hall. So it is possible that this killer has a personal connection to either one or more of the dance halls, and that there is some kind of personal vendetta that might have existed that led him to do such a heinous crime. That said, though, I mean, this guy knew, Jillian, that this was the Lunar New Year celebration. He knew there were thousands of people out celebrating. He knew that most of the people celebrating in Monterey Park were Asian. So the law enforcement really has to do a deep dive to find out whether this was a hate crime.
And Brian, you're a local, as you mentioned. This active scene right now where they've surrounded this white cargo van, this is actually directly across the street, very close to Del Almo Mall in Torrance, which is a very, very popular area. I want to ask you about what we're expecting to hear in this upcoming press conference. LA County Sheriff's Department is running about 30 minutes late now. They initially said this was going to be at about 2:45 local time. Obviously, with this sort of a breaking news situation, we oftentimes see these press conferences get extended as detectives have to gather details and confirm certain information before they put it out to the media. What are you hoping to learn in this press conference? What I'm hoping to learn personally is the suspect alive or dead inside of that vehicle? Is he even inside of that vehicle? Obviously, I don't think we're going to hear anything about potential motive just yet, but given what we've been looking at with the kind of the tone.
It boils down to getting right back to identifying this individual and who his friends were, who he dated, who he was involved with, and on and on and on.
Hold right there for a moment. I want to take us live now to Monterey Park. We're going to listen into the
update you regarding
police
the mass shooting
there
that occurred last night. Sheriff Luna.
Thank you, Captain. As most of you were here earlier today, it's very important for our community to be updated on something as significant and tragic as this. So we're back up here, making ourselves available to you for any questions. I think you're aware that at 11:18 this morning, we released a bulletin with a picture or an image of what we believe to be the suspect. We haven't named him, and there's a reason for that. We have a lot of resources in the Sheriff's Department, working with other agencies to make sure, again, that our priority, beyond taking care of the victims and survivors of this horrible incident, that we get this man off the streets. So I think that all of you have received this. I want to address also that there is a tactical incident that's occurring in the city of Torrance that is being covered. People have asked, is that your suspect? We don't know. As I said earlier today, we had a vehicle that was described as a white box van, I guess you'd say, a van of interest. And there's a van that looks just like what was described to us in the city of Torrance. It's a barricaded suspect situation. We are working with one of our partner agencies, the Torrance Police Department, to resolve that. We believe there is a person inside of that vehicle. We don't know their condition, but we're going to handle that in the safest manner that we possibly can to try and identify that person. Could it be our suspect? Possibly. But at this point, if we're doing our jobs correctly, we're not only looking at that situation or scenario, but we're making sure that we're looking at any and every possibility. So I do encourage our community, if they have any leads, maybe they saw the picture of this individual, to come forward with any information that they believe may help us in this very critical and important investigation. That's going to be very important. I also want to talk about the victim survivor side of this. In response to our mass shooting this morning, a victim resource center has been set up at the Langley Senior Citizen Center located at 400 West Emerson Avenue. And I want to make sure that the appropriate victims, families, friends take advantage of that resource. There are many people behind me. Some of them will speak, representatives from different agencies, and there's so many parts to this, right? The response, the medical side of it. But as we're looking for this suspect, we will not forget the victims and survivors. And it's important because you can just imagine the trauma that they've experienced, and it's our responsibility to wrap our arms around them. So representatives from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the District Attorney's Office, and the District Attorney, George Gascon, is standing here with us. The Red Cross, the Department of Health Victim Services are at the center to assist the victims, survivors, and their families. If anyone believes their relative may be a victim, please contact representatives at this Victims Resource Center that I'm talking about. And again, if you think that you have questions, you're upset, you haven't been able to locate a family member that you think's involved, please go out to this Victim Center and we will assist you. That's why we're there. At the center, we also have members from the Psychological Services Bureau, from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. And as we go hour by hour, if we see any other needs, there are multiple agencies that have contacted us. Everybody wants to help, which is amazing in this time, because we need to depend on each other in difficult circumstances like this. So with that, I am going to turn it over to the next speaker, and I'll be here for questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff Luna, and I also want to congratulate and actually give credit to the first responders, as well as our sheriff team and the city of Monterey Park, the chief of police, the many deputies, and as well as the DA's office, Mr. Gascon, and also to our elected officials that are here with us this morning representing the city of Monterey Park. I am, as you know,
Saturday at 7 on Global.
To a Fox News alert now, you're looking at live footage on the ground in Torrance, California, a parking lot there. Police have surrounded a white van that the district attorney just announced matches the description of a van that was seen by witnesses fleeing the scene from two separate incidents last night, one in Monterey Park, California, the other in Alhambra. It appears that SWAT team is now making a move on the vehicle after standing nearby for the last better part of an hour. We're learning new details coming into the newsroom each moment now, but Bill, it does appear that they are making a move on this van.
Yeah, they are, and those guys are the elite of the elite when it comes to the LA County Sheriff's Department. That's known as SCB, the Sheriff's Enforcement Bureau. You can see those heavy armored vehicles they have there. Those are all very highly trained, essentially SWAT guys, and this is the first activity we've seen there at that surrounded van in at least well over an hour now at this point. You can see they appear to be clearing that vehicle. The point guy's got his, he had his gun pointed at first, but it does seem to be a pretty relaxed posture as they're going into that vehicle right now. Again, we just heard Sheriff Robert Luna say they do believe there is somebody inside, but they don't know that person's condition. So as you look at these live images with us, you can now see the Sheriff's Department has made entry into that vehicle. Somebody just gave a hand motion right there. If it was, he might have put 4 fingers up for code 4, meaning it's clear, it's possible. They're now opening up the back of the van right there, and as you can see, it's still a fairly relaxed posture there, Jillian, which we can interpret as you know, it does not appear there is an active threat inside that
And as
car.
we continue to keep our eyes trained on this live scene unfolding there, Bill, let's recap for a moment what we just learned from LA County Sheriff Robert Luna. He said they are withholding the name of the suspect this hour. They are saying they are withholding releasing the type of weapon that is in police custody related to at least one incident in California last night. They say they have not yet eliminated the possibility that one or more other suspects were involved in either of these incidents. They're also describing what you are looking at live right now as a tactical incident. It's taking place again in a parking lot in Torrance, California.
And I think we're going to find out fairly quickly from these live images the status of that suspect. If we see a tarp come out, for instance, if they start trying to cover it up and they don't bring anybody out, that likely means there is potentially somebody deceased inside. If we see somebody get dragged out squirming in handcuffs, so we know there's somebody alive inside of that vehicle. But the way it looks right now, it does not appear to be an active threat coming from inside of that vehicle. And again, these are the elite guys they've called in. This is not Torrance PD. This is the SWAT team essentially for the LA County Sheriff's Department surrounding that van, going in now. And again, the reporting is from the sheriff himself that they believe that somebody is inside of that vehicle.
Let's bring back in Brian Claypool, who's been standing by. Brian, talk to us about what we're seeing on the scene right now. What do you make of this development right now?
Yeah, hey, Jillian. I think the fact that Sheriff Robert Luna did not disclose the identity of the individual in that white truck is because he suspected that maybe that individual is deceased. He probably killed himself. And typically, law enforcement doesn't release the name of somebody that's been killed or dead until they've notified family members. And I think that was a tip-off to me that this person was dead inside that van. Another comment I want to make is, if you notice that white van, it doesn't have any windows around the side or the back. You just see the front windows. So put yourself in law enforcement shoes. They don't know if there's somebody else in that van, and they can't see in the back of it. So I think that's what probably led to a longer delay in them going in to apprehend the suspect.
Yeah, and again, as we continue to watch this breaking news scene right here, this active scene, as these SWAT officers go into that vehicle, open it up. Obviously, we're keeping a wider shot just because we don't know what's inside of that van right now. But again, as you mentioned, that's actually a really good point, Ryan, which we didn't think about before, is it does take a while for law enforcement to release the name of any deceased individuals pending notification of next of kin. So it's very possible that is the case here. Again, I do want to report that what we don't know is if there is somebody dead or alive inside of that vehicle right now. All we do know is the sheriff said they do believe there's somebody inside and they don't know that person's condition. But you can see these images yourself. All those deputies walked up to that vehicle, scanned it, searched it, and then very nonchalantly have now gone back to the rears of their vehicle. They're not holding their guns up. It does not appear they're trying to take anybody into custody right now. So that leaves us essentially one of two options. There's nobody inside of that car, or there is somebody inside of that car. They're just no longer posing any kind of threat. And Jillian, remember when they put this guy's photo out, they said, beware, he is armed and dangerous.
And to recap, Bill, what we know at this hour about that suspect, we know he was a Asian American, or is an Asian American male. We know that he weighs about 150 pounds. He was seen by witnesses fleeing the scene at the second location last night, Alhambra. We know that he shot the same suspect, shot and killed 10 people on scene in Monterey Park. Police are obviously not releasing his name. We don't know who he is this hour, but as Bill said a moment ago, it is likely that we will learn that information very soon. And again, another thing that came out of that press conference is the sheriff telling the public that they got that image of him, that surveillance image of him, from that second location in Alhambra, where he apparently went after the initial mass shooting, walked into another dance floor, this from that second dance floor, armed, and apparently had that gun wrestled away from him by people there. He took off in that white van, and the result of that is you are seeing in the parking lot in Torrance now that van is surrounded, windows broken out, sheriff's clearing it right now, and we're just waiting for an update as to whether or not there is anybody alive inside of that vehicle. Jillian. And coverage of this story will continue.
Second incident.
Well, eyewitnesses did see the white van fleeing from the second incident, and that happened in Alhambra. And according to reports, people there wrestled that gunman to the ground. So I would imagine, Ted, and you tell me that in detectives of that at that second location, they would want to interview those eyewitnesses, and especially the people who wrestled the suspect to the ground, because they could answer questions about his demeanor, if he said anything, etc. Correct?
Absolutely. They're going to want to interview individuals at both that second incident as well as the incident where the individuals were killed, to try to determine what, if anything, this person may have said. I think that you're going to learn in this case that video feeds from around that area of the second incident and the first incident made all the difference in the world to helping law enforcement to immediately focus laser-wise on perhaps the white van and the white van in question. And again, I would have to believe...
Ted, if you're, excuse me, Ted, if you're looking, excuse me, Ted, look at your screen. We're looking at this live shot here at that white van in Torrance, and now you've got a group of about six SWAT officers approaching the rear of that van, and they are at a pretty good alert posture. What does this tell you?
Well, that they are concerned. Steve Rogers represented earlier that there may very well be others in the van. They don't know what's in that van. They have found a way to surround the van. They're using armored personnel carrier to try to find out as much as they can about the van as to whether it could even be booby-trapped. And as a result of that, you've got them on that.
And I'm not sure if you can see this screen. Excuse me, Ted, I'm not sure if you can see the live shot, but right now the back doors, both back doors are open. One SWAT team member just jumped into the van. So what does that tell you?
That tells you that they now know what and if how many people are actually in that van. They are, as I said a little earlier, they're being very patient and have been patient. And they now believe that as they've now made intrusion into the van, that they can now safely bring this to some conclusion, meaning this barricade of that van.
And meanwhile, there is reportedly a body in the driver's seat by accounts of the photograph taken by LA Times. You have a suspect slumped over the driver's seat, there in the driver's seat. They would wait for the coroner to come to the scene. No one in that SWAT team would touch that body, correct?
Well, they don't want to touch the body for several different reasons. One, yes, they want the coroner perhaps to come to the scene, but they're also concerned about whether the body could very well be booby-trapped. So they're deeply concerned about that also. And that was one of the reasons I believe that they waited in order to make an intrusion into that van, is because they were also concerned about the possibilities that the van itself could have been booby-trapped. So those are some of the things that they're doing, and they're acting out of an abundance of caution, and this is excellent law enforcement work.
It really is. And Ted, if you could sum this up for me in about 30 to 40 seconds, it will get you after on the other side of the break. I'm looking at this location here in Torrance, the Tokyo Central. It's a very popular Asian market. I love it. Daiso, another great store to go to there. This is a community. And not only is this a community there in Torrance, California, very peaceful place, also is Monterey Park. So let's talk about the victims. Let's talk about the trauma to the API community and what sort of counseling that might be available to them or necessary for them.
There's going to be significant counseling in that community. And I would have to believe that the community as a whole is going to try to come together. As you said, this was a wonderful, beautiful, peaceful community that has been disrupted by what has taken place. But I have to believe that this community will come together and they will heal together as a result of what has taken place here this afternoon and last night.
What started out as a beautiful celebration of the Lunar New Year has turned into a devastating nightmare. Ted Williams, thank you. We will continue our coverage right after this break.
Okay, everyone, our mission is complete balanced nutrition.